Hello and welcome to another Intercourt Tai-Chi video. My name is Cain Yentzer, and today I will be doing a simple Tai-Chi stepping exercise. If you're familiar with Ching's 37 movements, this will be familiar to you. If you're just beginning, you might want to check out this video and do the stepping. This is a video that my students request because I teach this stepping in class after I teach Grasp the Sparrow's Tail. We go into stepping. It can be a little daunting at first, but once you get it, you get it. And this video is basically for my students who wanted something that they can reference at home. Let's get started. So there's a couple things, before we even get started, there's a couple topics we need to go into. First of all, you have to understand separation of weight, because we're going to be separating our weight when we move back and forth. All right, so separation of weight is when you have your whole body weight completely on one leg, or this is complete separation of weight, excuse me. Complete separation of weight is when you have all of your body weight going into one leg, going into one foot, and then the other foot is empty. Okay, this would be the full foot and this would be the empty foot. I've separated all my weight into my back leg. What this doesn't mean though is balancing on the leg. It means sitting into the leg, and you need to be able to have your knee bent. This is what I mean by complete separation of weight, okay? And that's going to happen during this stepping. Another thing we need to talk about is empty stepping. So when we put a foot down in this stepping exercise, it's going to come down heel and then toe. And this is called an empty step because there's no weight in the foot, even though the foot has come completely flat with the ground. All right, once that happens, then we're going to move into the foot. And the purpose of this is so that we don't, what I call, fall into the foot. Okay, so we need to pay attention to that. So when we step, we put the heel down, then the sole of the foot, and then we move into the foot. Another important thing is that you're not rolling the weight forward from the heel to the toes. You don't want to put any type of weight into the heel. Okay, it all goes into the bubbling wells. If you don't know what the bubbling wells is, you need to go check out my video. I show you where the bubbling wells wells are in the feet and how to use them. Okay, and what you're looking for in the foot, as far as when you put it down, is the whole sole of the foot is touching the ground, but none of the tissue in between the bones in your feet and the floor are getting compressed. All right, then you can roll into that foot, or move into that foot, excuse me, and the weight drains all the way down into the bubbling wells. Now, as you can see, I've put some tape on the ground, and this is really important. If you have tape, or if you don't have tape, go get some, because I highly recommend this, because how you place your feet as far as width apart is very, very important. People have a tendency to get narrow when doing this, and if you have a narrow stance, that's just, it takes a lot of the efficacy out of the stance. Okay? So what you want to do is get your feet parallel apart. Okay, as you can see, I've got mine on my lines, it's parallel and shoulder width apart. Okay, once again, I suggest you have tape on the ground. And we're going to get into our bow stance. Okay, so I'm going to take a straight step back. You notice how I stayed on the line. My heel stayed on the line. I'm going to turn my back toe out, and I'm going to get into my bow stance. Once again, the tape represents where my heels should be, not my toes. All right, I have the left leg forward. I have 80%, 70% of the weight in the front leg, 20, 30 in the back. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my waist backwards into the back foot or the right foot, moving from the waist, and I'm going to take the slack out of the front leg. Okay, now this leg has become empty. Okay, so we're going to practice that a couple times. Get that down, just move away from the leg, soften the leg up, the slack will be taken out. All right, and then switch sides and do it a couple of times on the side. Sit back into the back leg, move away from the front leg, all the weight comes out. All right, so stop the video, you can practice that for a second. If you already understand what I'm doing, let's move on. All right, after that happens, we're going to sit back, and you notice once the slack in the front leg has been taken out, and you keep turning the waist, the toe will come up. Now we do this with the waist. What we're not doing is moving back, turning the waist, and then moving the foot independently of the waist. It's all the waist. So move back into the back leg, turn the waist to the left, and the toe should come up naturally. Now, if you're having trouble getting the toe up, there's a good chance that you're leaning forward You're leaning backward. You're trying to control the movements from your shoulders. You really need to get all of the weight into this leg and be upright. You have to have your spine plumb. Then you will find this connection with the foot. All right? So the toe comes up, and we're going to point the toe to a 45-degree angle. Be careful not to do this. This is a common mistake where the toe comes up and you turn too far. You don't want to do that because you're going to have all sorts of trouble going on that leg. And in a second, we're going to take a step, and you're going to have trouble taking the step and turning your waist. So it's very important that we sit back, controlling the toe with the waist, point it to the 45, the diagonal, and then the foot's going to come down. Now remember, the foot comes down, there's no weight here. I haven't fallen to my foot. I haven't let my leg drag me forward. It's very important to get all that weight in the back. So let's just practice that a couple of times. Just sit back, move away from the foot, turn the toe with the waist. Okay? Practice that a couple of times on both sides. Sit back. Bring the toe up with the waist. Okay? Sit back. Bring the toe up. And the foot comes down, no weight. Okay, check. All right, then do it on the other side. Sit back, the toe comes up. Let the foot come down completely. Do a mental check and say, okay, my foot's here. Oh, that'll be important. I'll talk about that in a second. And check, okay? So once you're able to do that, then we can move on to the next part. And the next part is we're going to move weight into that foot. Now, when we move weight into this foot, a couple of things are going to happen. We are going to keep in the diagonal direction, which means our nose and our navel, when we turn here, notice my nose and my navel, my toe and my knee are pointing to the diagonal. I am going to keep those things going in that direction. I'm not going to let my waist do this, which you might have a propensity to do. You might want to do this in order to get this weight onto this leg. You have to keep these things aligned and going in this direction completely. And you'll notice as I do this, the back foot peels off the ground, and I'm going to bring it forward. Okay? When I bring it forward, don't let it come too far forward. You want it to come to about the heel. And it's completely empty. All right? We're not bringing the foot forward and then double weighting. All right? You have to keep all your weight here. So let's look at that one more time. Sit back. Toe comes up because of the waist. The foot goes down flat. No weight. Shift into that leg. Keep your belly button going towards the diagonal and keep your knee bent. Move away from the back leg. It will peel off the ground naturally, and then it comes forward to the heel. Now, I already know we're going to run into trouble because most people, I've taught this so many times and I see it all the time, and that is this. And you need to pay attention to this. Sit back, toe up, foot down, shift the weight. Now, I see this a million times. As you go into this leg, you're going to want to stand up and do this, or somewhere near that, okay? You really need to keep the knee bent. You want to sit into that leg. You want to sit into that leg so you're not standing up. You don't want to let your energy dissipate up. You need to let that energy go into the leg. It's very important. This develops your legs. This develops the jin in Tai-Chi that we're trying to develop. So that's very important. And remember, you don't have to do it right away. You have to strengthen the legs first. But you need to pay attention to that because you don't want to dissipate the energy upward. You want to load the leg like a spring. So go ahead and let's practice that a couple times on each side. Sit back, nice and slow. Foot down, then move in. Keep the knee bent and make sure you're going towards the diagonal direction. Okay? Practice that a couple of times on each side. Let's do the right side. Okay, and you'll notice you're stronger on one side than the other. Toe comes up, foot down, no weight. Shift towards the diagonal. Okay, keep the knee bent. Keep the head up. I guarantee if you're practicing this right now, it's your first time, your head's going down like this. Don't get into that habit. You don't want to use your eyes as a reference. You want to be able to feel this. Also, dipping the head down pulls the body forward, okay? And that unbalances you, okay? So we don't want to do that. So let's move into the next part. So we get into our bow stance. We shift the weight back. We bring the toe up with the waist, foot down. Shift the waist to the diagonal. Keep the knee bent. Keep facing this direction, even here. When we take a step, we're going to take a step, and when we take a step, we're going to put it back on this line. So you're going to step over this space. You want to pretend for a while that this is electrified and you don't want to step on it, okay? The reason you want to do this is because you don't want to end up with a narrow stance, because you're going to move into bow stance and you don't want to lose the space in between your feet, okay? So we're going to sit back, toe up, foot down, shift the weight to the diagonal. This foot comes in, stay upright, and we're going to step, okay, to the heel, toe, and this time look at the toe. It's pointing straight forward, okay? You might have a little confusion when you start doing this. Does the toe go out? Does it go forward? When we're stepping forward, the toe is pointing directly forward, because this is going to be the front leg in our bow stance, all right? So that has to be there. That's another reason to have tape, all right? So let's look at this one more time. There's something else I want to add into it. I'm going to step back here. Sit back. Toe up, foot down, shift the weight, go directly towards the diagonal, keep the knee bent, the back foot comes in. Now, when we step, heel, toe, empty step, empty step. Now, also, notice where my waist is. You're going to want to turn the waist in order to get that foot over there. You don't want to do that because we want to leave the waist room to turn. All right? It has to be in a position so it can turn. So when we take that step, we want to keep our waist pointed to this direction, okay? Your intent is still here even though you're taking this step, all right? Once the foot is down, the sole of the foot is on the ground. Without weight going into it, we're going to turn the waist right, shift the weight forward, and voila. We're back in bow stance, but this time with the right leg forward, all right? Then you're simply going to switch sides. You're going to sit back, the right toe is going to come up, put the foot down, no weight, shift, nice and level. Keep the waist pointed to this direction, step without turning the waist, and then turn the waist and shift the weight, and now we're in bow stance with the left leg forward. So let's do that a couple times. Get your heels on your lines. Always correct from the ground up. Make sure you're in your proper bow stance. You have the space in between your feet. Your knees are bent, both. Don't straighten the back leg. Your spine is plumb. You're relaxed. Breathe, and then begin. Sit back. Empty out the front leg. The toe comes up. Turn the waist. Foot down, empty. Shift, keeping the knees bent, staying level, head up to the diagonal. The back leg peels off the ground, and it comes up to where the left heel is. We're going to keep the waist turned to this direction, step, heel, toe, toe pointing forward, and then we're going to turn the waist and shift the weight into the right leg. Come all the way into bow stance. Shift back into the back leg, bring the toe up with the waist, empty out this leg, put the foot down, move to the diagonal. Directly to the diagonal, left leg comes up. Step without turning the waist, heel, toe, empty step, then turn and shift. One more time, sit back, toe comes up, foot down, shift. Step, don't turn the waist, turn the waist, move forward. Okay, so that's basically it. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comment section. Please like the video, especially if you're using the video, subscribe, and remember to breathe, practice, and relax. Thank you.